What's the most unsatisfying BS ending to a TV series? Santa Clarita Diet ended on a cliffhanger that would have been great to pick up in the next season. Also, I just finished Bones and I did not care for that ending either. It was an amazing show. Unique plot, actually funny and made sense. Drew Barrymore was so good in it. I hate when Netflix cancels shows after like 2 to 3 seasons. I'm just glad that they blew the lab up. I know that they wanted to do it from the start. I am not okay with this. It was cancelled by Netflix, so ended on the biggest mistake of a cliffhanger. It was a really well made show, too. Oh man, it got cancelled. I liked that show. I will not watch a Netflix series until it gets to season 3. They cancel literally everything season 2. I'm still pissed about Altered Carbon. That show was very redeemable. Roseanne's original It Was All Made Up ending. Then the Roseanne revival and spin-off The Connors keeps going back and retconning and flat out ignoring plot points from the original show. I fucking hated that ending. I watched the entire fucking series to get told oh it was all a book and none of it really happened. Also, I changed several major plot points. Not to mention they completely threw that out the window when they decided they wanted a reboot. Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicles just because of the cliffhanger ending it was cancelled with. Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicles just because of the cliffhanger ending it was cancelled with. And the reason for the shitty cancellation was to pay for the shitty movie we got instead. Way to go, assholes. At least the TV series felt like it was building up to something. Castle was a detective/drama show starring Nathan Fillion, Mal in Firefly. The season is wrapping up, his newish wife is becoming a senator, from a detective. Side note, this was confirmed to happen by a guy that was strongly suggested to be a time traveler. Then they're talking in the kitchen and some guy comes in and shoots both of them. They're both bleeding on the ground, then it cuts to years in the future and they're laughing and smiling with their 2 young children with some voiceover talking about some BS that I can't even remember. Castle was a victim of the moonlighting curse. Once the will they won't they is dealt with, the show dies a pathetic death. It also doesn't help that Stana and Nathan despised each other in the last few seasons. Side note, this was confirmed to happen by a guy that was strongly suggested to be a time traveler. I haven't watched Castle in years, but this episode still keeps me up at night sometimes. Like, every single other sci-fi/supernatural thing that happens on the show is explained away somehow, but that shit with the coffee stain. How the fuck do you explain that? I kept waiting for some gag or explanation to come, but I just got the credits. It was like they did a practice shark jump before committing to it later on. Penny Dreadful. Frown. It must have been awful because I've watched the entire run around 5 times and have zero recollection of the end. The Amazing World of Gumball ended on a gigantic cliffhanger, and for 2 years we were anxiously waiting for a movie announcement which would resolve that cliffhanger. Thankfully the movie was announced earlier this year. The Cartoon Network show? It's kind of weird to me to hear how all those shows I watched when I was a kid are ending. Adventure Time ended and Regular Show ended too. Reminds me that it was fucking 7 years ago that I last cared about watching network TV. But at the same time at least they didn't go down the Nickelodeon route of let's milk this for money. Jericho. All that build up for it to just never conclude. What really sucks about Jericho is it was cancelled after 1 season originally. It only got brought back for the 2nd season because it had garnered a cult following of some very dedicated fans. So what do the writers do when brought back? Do they close out the story and give us the conclusion we deserve? No, they give us another goddamn cliffhanger. Still after all these years, I'm not salty, not even a little. Nuts. That 70s show had a pretty unsatisfying ending. It just feels like they left so much out that needed to be wrapped up before it just ends. I felt like the whole last season was just unsatisfying and awkward, even. There were still funny moments, but it never felt natural anymore. I thought the last few minutes of the last episode was sweet, with everyone back together and counting down to the 80s, but yeah, it wasn't amazing, haha. I don't know what they could have done really. Topher Grace was completely disinterested in it by the time he left because well, he was smart and invested all his earnings from the show and well he doesn't have to literally worry about money for the rest of his life now and can pick any project he wants. Kutcher had already blown up as a movie star and was big studio cash cow. Dexter. I pretend the last season doesn't exist, but unfortunately it seems they are going to restart the series from that point. Crossing my fingers they can somehow salvage the character. I didn't particularly like Ritu as a character, but once they killed her off, the show really felt like it had no idea what they were doing long term for the characters or the plot. Felt like they decided to change things just to keep from going stale. Hoping the revival is good. Michael C. Hall could turn almost anything into watchable TV, but I hope they are bringing more to the table than that. Theoretically, Hannah makes sense as a character. But I was so fucking bored with their shared narrative. That and Deb suddenly getting a boner for Dex was just a long descent into oh yeah, this should have ended a bit ago. The Promised Neverland Season 2 lol. I don't understand, what's bad about watching a PowerPoint about what could have been? I'm still fucking pissed. Manga gets a lot of flack, but besides the very ending it's solid. So what does this dumbass company do? Skip everything that everyone loves about the second season and jumps right to the part everyone hates and does it worse. Promised Neverland was setting itself up to be the next Attack on Titan, a gripping story that someone can enjoy whether or not they like anime. Instead they shit themselves in the foot. Fuck season 2, fuck the producers, fuck everything about it. Luvis would have been badass. Hasn't ended yet, but The Flash is well on its way to getting there. I kind of hate watch it now. The most recent Forces villains are so bad. Although when the whole Flash vanishes in Crisis rug was pulled out from under us, that's when I knew it was starting to go really bad. CW shows just suck. Arrow was good until it merged with Flash and introduced all the superpower stuff. Yeah, Arrow got pretty bad as well. Both that and Flash have become ridiculous, but try to make themselves seem serious. Legends of Tomorrow is still fun to watch because they don't try to take themselves so seriously when they get ridiculous. House of Cards. I didn't even feel anything while watching. Not anger, not shock, not disappointment. Just pure apathy, because of how ridiculous and awful the rest of that final season was. I was just like, well, I guess that was that. I've never seen a show fall off a cliff like this before. I read a suggestion where they should have done 4 seasons with 13 episodes each representing a deck of cards. Season 1 starts with the climb, then the presidency, then turmoil, then downfall. As soon as Frank became president, the show died for me. They just lost the plot. I like to pretend the show ends there. The first 2 seasons of Sherlock were amazing. The third one was alright. But that fourth one? What the actual fuck was going on there? There's a YouTuber who broke down why Sherlock sucked and basically pointed out that the writers are very good at short story stuff, but the moment they tried to branch out, they lose all momentum. It's like an hour-long video, and if I knew who did it I'd link it. I'm glad I didn't watch 4. I watched the first 2 and only saw a couple in season 3. After that I lost interest, and from what I have read I'm glad I didn't waste my time. What the hell with that, and the writing was so great for 1 and 2. I don't get it. Star Trek Enterprise. After having an incredible 2-partner that easily would have worked as the finale, there is an extra episode which is basically Riker from TNG plays in events that take place 10 years after you last saw everyone. They kill off one of the main characters, and then cut off Archer just as he's about to give his big speech. At least the very last scene is good fan service. The books end up retconning the whole thing, but I haven't read them. I believe the last episode was so shit/rushed because the writers were angry about it being cancelled. Honestly can't remember the exact reason. But they basically did a big fuck you by killing off Trip. Enterprise was finally hitting its stride in season 4, when the suits pulled the plug. And I heard Shran was supposed to join the crew in season 5. My name is Earl, and anything else that ended on a cliffhanger. My name is Earl's writers at least told us what their plan for the real ending was. The closest finish my name is Earl got was the bit in Raising Hope where they mention a man finishing his list. And the writers saying what the real end would be. Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.